Of the 12 companions of Thorin, 10 remained. Fili and Kili had fallen, defending him with shield and body, for he was their mother's elder brother. This excerpt from near the end of The Hobbit really struck me when I first read it. A simple line, almost an afterthought in the way it recounts what happened, yet I find it both beautiful and tragic. Now on a lighter note, hello my lovely friends, welcome to Laurel and Artistry. As I draw my 3 characters, I do take a lot of inspiration from how Peter Jackson depicted them, but with a few changes to make them a bit more accurate to the book. Fili and Kili are the youngest of the 13 dwarfs, but beyond that, there's little we actually know about them. But even within this small account of their deaths, it seems that there's so much we can learn about their character. Their love and loyalty is revealed to us, not just the kind that is shown to a king by his men, but something deeper, the sort between family. Depicting an uncle and nephew relationship is something that's pretty common in Tolkien's work, with the uncle tending to take on the role of an adoptive father. So we see their great respect and honor for Thorin, with the way they shield his wounded body with their own. Such sacrifice is compelling and beautiful because it's the greatest act of love one can show for another. We see in their willingness to give up their lives that there's something they value even more. It's not gold or jewels, it's not the lonely mountain they came to reclaim from the dragon. It's their uncle, their king. As I continue drawing, I admit I was not entirely sure how to make their shields look, well, very good or properly dwarvish. Armor is generally not my strong suit. I add in arrows to really emphasize their struggle to defend Thorin with every last ounce of strength. I draw this scene in a similar style to the series I did of Lord of the Rings last year, with that sort of stained glass look for the characters. It seems to generally be a style that works quite well for me when I want to create a scene. Now onto coloring. As I said, I based a lot of their character design off the films, just to make them as recognizable as possible. So what they're wearing is pretty much based on what they're wearing in the Battle of Five Armies movie. One of the changes I make to their appearance, other than giving them longer beards, is making Kili's hair lighter, as both Fili and Kili are meant to be blonde, as well as making Thorin's hair more gray. Now time for the shading, which is accomplished by coloring in the little shapes I made, with a couple of darker hues as well as a lighter tone. One of my biggest criticisms I had of the films is actually that they didn't have Fili and Kili defending Thorin in this manner. Such an impactful moment they could have had, and yet they opted for what felt like cheap drama and out-of-place romance. To be honest, that is why I wanted to draw this scene. Even as brief a mention as it was in the book, I was quite touched by it. I thought about how it could have been even more powerful depicted on screen. To see how it was changed made me sad. But I'm not here to complain about the Hobbit trilogy. In fact, there were some things I still really like about them. Facial expressions can be hard to get right at times. I wanted them to look intense, exhausted in pain, but giving their all. I'll finish shading up Thorin, who is lying unconscious as he's being defended, and then give them a thicker outline, which is the last step before I add in the rest of the scene. I draw them on top of a hill, which is covered with grass that is dead and brown. I draw some fallen orcs to give the sense that they have been fighting, but I make those a bit more silhouetted to keep the focus on our dwarves. I shaded my hill, making it rather dark at the bottom. The sky I make orange, and give the grass a bit more of an orangey tone as well. I draw in a shadow underneath our characters. Add some more grassy details. Adjust the color of the orcs a bit more. And now to give the sky some more detail. I want it to be intense and sort of glow around them. The bright rays of sun crowning their noble sacrifice. I add a little motion blur to one of the arrows to help illustrate movement. I add a darkened duplicate layer of my characters, which I erase some of to reveal the lighter layer underneath, in order to try to get a more backlit appearance. And color over some of the shapes with a bright yellow to add a more severe contrast and lighting around the edges. Darken our hill, add a tad more motion blur, and then also make the orcs more shadowed. I draw a sword next to Fili so as to further communicate that these two have been fighting with all their strength. I add some more arrows to the air to further give an intensity to the scene, though I was never quite happy with how those looked. I draw in some clouds in the sky. And then I add an eagle and some bats. I conclude the drawing with some final details on my dwarves. And there we are. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you appreciated this piece, and I hope I'll see you again. In the meantime, remember to value food and cheer and song above hoarded gold. Ciao!